Conley, Gasol, Randolph, Tony Allen, Kosta Koufos, and Tayshaun Prince. Those 6 guys all produce a defensive rating less than 91 when on the court. So think about our collective, as I said at the opening, our collective D rating for the entire team is 90.9, right? So those 6 guys, when they're on the court, produce a defensive rating that is below that. So their defensive numbers are even better, right, than what the team as a whole. And then you take most of those guys are starters with the exception of Kosta and Tayshaun, and they've got offensive ratings that are above 104. So you've got our starters that have these net ratings of, 14 and higher, and then you put in our bench and they've got negative net ratings. I mean, it's pretty stark in contrast. Only John Lure actually produces a defensive rating over 100. So everybody on the team has a defensive rating less than 100 when they're on the court, except for John Lure. And even John Lure at 100, it's still less than last year, which was 102 as a team. So the defense, again, is not really the problem. The offense has been the problem. But, Steve, let me ask you, what do you think makes the defense click like it does, and why are they so dangerous? I'll go back. Is it systemic or is it personnel?
And I'm going to kind of backpedal on that question just like I did the last one. I want to say that it's both. It's personnel based that's kind of created this system that they work in. I mean, this is Tony Allen's 5th season with the team. Zach Randolph's 6th, Marc Gasol 7th, Mike Conley's 8th. So this organization, be it Lionel, be it Jaeger, be it the whole brain trust that's been around has had all this time to work with these players and learn exactly what it is that they're good at, what they're bad at, how to cover for one another defensively. And then there's the chemistry of the players that they've developed over time. So, I have to be in this spot when Zach goes to cover there because I know that he can't make it back. And it's really cool to see it all come together and, how over the years they've really built this system and just kind of worked other players into it. Because other than Tony Allen, I mean, even Mark necessarily isn't the greatest man defender, but they've been able to create this awesome defensive synergy, which I guess you would call it systemic now, but it's really rooted in the personnel and how they've learned to work together and learn to cater the defense to their strengths. I mean, last year you saw it pretty strongly when Mark went out. It wasn't just that we weren't guarding pick and rolls as well anymore, things like that, but Tony Allen wasn't getting as many steals when he was out. Mike Conley wasn't getting as many steals when Mark was out because they can't afford to gamble the way that they would normally do because they know that Kosta, while he's a good defender, won't have their back as well as Mark will. And it's definitely a beautiful synergy that they've created. It's everyone plays into it, and now they have a culture here where even the bench guys that come in and all these other guys, they learn and they see how it works, and that's a huge reason why guys like James Johnson come in, make a big difference, but then don't stick around. I think that was more than just not wanting to pay him. It was that you have to buy in. There has to be like a collective of buying into the system that they put into place, and I think that's what Jaeger sees so much in Tayshaun Prince, that he likes to use him so much, is because on defense he's learned to play with these guys.
Let me ask you about Marc Gasol. You brought up Gasol. You brought up Koufos. I've watched them, and it seems, and we've noticed this with Anthony Davis against the Pelicans. Do you think that Marc Gasol is a better on-ball defender or a better help defender? Because to me, it seems like when somebody goes right at Gasol, more than likely, you're either going to beat him or you're going to get some position. You're going to be able to get past him, or you're going to, I think that he's more a presence, and his presence is felt if you're a guard or someone that's trying to penetrate into the lane, because he always comes over to help, and he redirects that offense, that motion. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I think it's completely dead on, and I think that's why it surprised a lot of people when Marc Gasol ended up winning Defensive Player of the Year when he did, because he never had this reputation of being a awesome defensive player. I mean, we didn't know him as that. He came overseas and he was a Gasol. We said, he'll bang a little bit, he'll bruise, he'll get some rebounds, he'll play some offense, and he has this great finesse offensive game. That's what I was saying before as well. I mean, Tony Allen is really the only one that came to this team with a reputation as a defender. Zach Randolph, we know nothing of him as a defender, and he has his own ways of making an impact on the defensive end and wearing out the opposition. But Marc kind of came in, and I hate using the term glue guy, but he brought that defensive glue. He's not going to lock down every other center that he plays against. It's not who he is, but he is so disruptive. If it comes to breaking down pick and rolls, or he's a great 2-9 guy, which 2-9, the terminology of staying in the paint for 2.9 seconds, or slightly more, just touching guys and brushing off guys enough that you don't get called for it. He's awesome at that. He's awesome at taking space away from offensive players, and that's where his value comes in. And Costa's don't get me wrong, Costa's been great at positioning himself as well. Marc Gasol is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, I think, perennially at this point, and to say Costa's not on that level isn't to slight him. But I do want to talk about Costa's positioning a little bit later when we get to a little bit deeper with the bench.